Hi, this is Lee with Lyndale Plant Services, and it's no secret that I love to garden, and a lot of times if you're a gardener you want to arrange flowers. The books will tell you you need to have a cutting garden made up of annuals. Well, I'm here to tell you that if you're a perennial gardener like myself, you can have beautiful little arrangements anytime you want. And I've always got things blooming in my house from end of April when the muscari come up until the very last aster has bloomed in the fall. Some of these things you may recognize, you may not recognize. A lot of the bloomers are very small, so I bring out my little collection of small vases that I've collected over the years. And these are great to have around because then you can give your flowers away. And there's nothing better than making someone's day by giving them a little vase of flowers. Sometimes I even use shot glasses. You know, I put a little sunflower in there. That's pretty sweet. But what I'm going to tell you about today are some of these flowers that are perennial by nature, and I use them as cut flowers all the time. This is Geranium biocova. This happens to be this year's perennial plant of the year. I've had it growing in my garden for many years. It's a wonderful little geranium. And in case you're confused about geraniums, the cut flowers that you buy, not the cut flowers, the annuals that you buy at the garden centers, those are actually pelargoniums. These are true geraniums, and they're small little guys, but they're very, very nice in a vase, and you can just take and cut them, put them in there. Very sweet. Again, this is biocova, this year's perennial plant of the year. Very nice in a little vase like that. Now this guy, this happens to be a native plant here in Minnesota. This is Geum triflorum, and look at how cool that is. When you've got a plant like this growing in your garden, you got to cut it and put it in something and give it to someone, because no one ever believes how cool this looks. This is a native plant. It's low growing. It blooms starting in the late spring, early summer, and it continues to do this on and off all season. It's kind of a whimsical looking. Reminds some people of troll hair. Maybe you've got a friend who likes trolls. Give them a little bit of Geum triflorum. Other things that are blooming right now, and this is almost the middle of June. This is a penstemon. It's got some nice pink flowers. Don't forget your eucharas. Coral bells, they also put off nice flowers that can be cut and put in little vases as well. Mix these two together. Easily done. I've also got my paprika yarrow starting to bloom. Now these are all perennials. You don't need to replant these every year to get a cutting garden going. You can just get out there as soon as they start blooming. Another thing it helps you do is it helps you see where you might need more color in your garden. So I've used that. If you need the foliage elements that florists will use, it doesn't have to come from the same flower. This is a daylily leaf. Just give yourself some greens. One of my favorite cut flowers that is a perennial, this is lady's mantle. This is the most awesome plant to have in your garden. It's got this wonderful flower. The unique thing about this plant is that it doesn't need to be pollinated to produce seed. It kind of is self-fertile. So it will spread in your garden, but you'll find that that is a wonderful thing because it is so pretty and so fluffy. Another thing that you'll notice with lady's mantle, after it rains, when you go out, there'll be raindrops perched on the foliage. It's beautiful. Very unique to most plants. Very unique to this plant. Most plants aren't like that. So again, this is lady's mantle. It's a perennial. Very nice to have in a cut arrangement. Let me just get a few more in there. And then I'm going to talk about another one of my favorite plants, perennials, that is not very commonly used in Minnesota, but it should be used more often. And that, here, let me just there we go. Let's just get that started. So now I've got a little bit of that. This flower, this is Amsonia. This is Tabernet montana. This is Amsonia hubrectii. They have different foliage. One of these was the perennial plant of the year recently. The common name for this plant is blue star because they get these wonderful steel blue flowers in the springtime. Something else about these that make them quite unique in the perennial world is that they have a beautiful yellow foliage in the fall. When in the fall this turns bright yellow, not many perennials have a color worth talking about. It's one of the few perennials that will get a nice foliage color. So these are great to add to your florals. And of course salvias. Salvias are great. They come in both perennial versions and annual versions. This one is caradonna. You can see that the stems are a little darker. This is May Night, which is, again, another perennial plant of the year back many years ago. The perennial plants of the year are decided upon by the Perennial Plant Association, and it's based on characteristics that make them really good garden plants. You know, resistance to disease, longevity, long bloom, things like that. I'm just going to put a couple of these little dianthus in there. This is a great little flower too, just to add a little bit more color. So don't think that you have to plant an annual garden every year to have cut flowers to bring into your home. You can always cut perennials, cut their foliage to use as the foliage accents. This is a carex, which is not a true grass, but it's a sedge. There's a saying, sedges have edges and grasses don't. It's not quite the way the saying goes, but close enough. So get out there and enjoy your garden in more ways than one. For years I just looked at my garden and just thought it was beautiful. Now I cut it, I bring it in. Not only do I bring it into my house, I give these things away. People love to get flowers, so get out there and cut some flowers. This is what my garden is blooming right now in the middle of June. Check out your own garden. This is Lee with Lyndale Plant Services. Have a great day.